Here I am in front of the Game of Thrones studio, and you can see the sign behind me. A bus from Belfast, and they pick you up from the city center and bring you here. And this is just, it looks a small shed, but I'm sure it's magical inside. These are the costumes used for the characters of Game of Thrones. Me and Danny, I'm slightly taller than Danny. And I am slightly shorter than Cersei. Well, way shorter than the Night King. I am very, very, very short compared to her. Oh no. Oh my god. So I am inside the studio tour area and we are about to begin. And behind me you can see the faces of the characters. And there is a queue. So they do a picture before we get to go in. So in case if you want to buy pictures from the studio, we can do that. How detailed things have been used. For example, check out the shells that they have used in the costumes and everything. So this is the Free Folk one, and I think it's a really nice way to preserve all the hard work that the production team has done. We have the Night King and his costume. It's really incredible how they have used it to preserve all the hard work that the craftsmen and the production crew have done. Behind me, if you see, there is the big giant. And now behind me, now you can see Brian Stark's. He was disabled, so he had to be carried. So look at the intricate weaving that they did and the way they preserve things. This is the costume of Hodor, the character, and other Stark children. I think it's incredible the way they have preserved everything from the set. So it took 14 years for the directors to finish making the show, and they managed it on a day-to-day basis and wrote most of the episode and directed it. And the directors David Benioff and D.B. Weiss were actually really good big fans of Game of Thrones, and they convinced the writer George R.R. Martin to give them the opportunity to produce Game of Thrones. And it took a role of 19 of the world's finest directors and bring all the 73 episodes to life on the screen that we actually saw. And I was talking to one of the people that was actually in the sets and working, and she told me each scene would take 10 hours to make it. So that's a lot of hard work. The outcome for a lot of episodes is iconic. I am in the production and design room, and this is really incredible because it shows the hard work of all the people involved, and it made me realize that bashing on any kind of show is not just bashing on the actor or director or story makers. There's a lot of people involved behind the making, and we only see a small part of it. um, for example, what I see here behind me is how each scene was made in a story design. So the storyboard of each scene, facial expression, all of it was made. And it's also incredible to see the plans and elevations of, like, even a ship. Like, we saw maybe for a few seconds in a scene, it's actually made by engineers with measurements and all of that. And as you can see, storyboards for each shot is made with incredible detail. A lot of art and artistic abilities are used to make each scene. And it's like the storyboards show how each scenes are made, the efforts of all the artists, engineers, creators. It's amazing. And even section of the wall, if you want to see there in my far corner, that wall over there, like, they had to actually build the wall too, so that's kind of cool. And here's the map that we are the fans of Game of Thrones are very familiar with. And here are the models that was used in looking at how each scene would look like, how the chambers would look. So this is for the marine audience chamber, and the ships, Yara's ship. Look at the incredible design and the detail.
BAFTA award-winning production designer Deborah Riley was responsible for some of the most dramatic and breathtaking environments in the series.
The job of the production designer always begins with the script. The job of the production designer always begins with the script and concept art. When we read a scene, we'll illustrate a moment in that scene to sell the idea of the space. And then once we have drawings that we're happy with, we go seeking out the new locations and what even we could use for inspiration. Even if we don't use that particular location, then what can we bring back home and use? All of the pictures from the locations are put on boards. They're then presented to Dave and Dan to see whether it's what they had imagined in their heads, and then we'll work out how to build them. We're broken into so many different departments within the art department that all operate under that one umbrella. There are branches of set decoration, for instance, that also. A moment in that scene to sell the idea of the space. And then once we have drawings that we're happy with, we go seeking out the new locations and what even we could use for inspiration. Even if we don't use that particular location, then what can we bring back home and imagined in their heads, and then we'll work out how to build them. We're broken into so many different departments within the art department that all operate under that one umbrella. There are obviously there's construction. Construction also involves
Was responsible for some of the most dramatic and breathtaking environments in the series.
Now in the place where the Dragonstone throne room was, and it's right behind me. And this is, as fans of Game of Thrones would know, this is the place where the last stuff in season 8 took place, and we'll go over things in detail. Let me show you things here. You know who wore this costume, and behind her you can see the sea, the scroll, the famous table, and the characters in the costumes. The construction took place so basically for each series, before each series began, it was or almost 100 sets of construction taking place in 3 countries. Fans of Game of Thrones will recognize what this thing is. It's the Dragonstone throne room, for those who don't know, and the characters' clothes.
Announcement for all guests travelling on the 2:45 Belfast coach. The coach will be departing in 7 minutes. That's the 2:45 Belfast coach will be departing in 7 minutes. Thank you.
Coach will be departing momentarily. This is an announcement to all guests traveling to the 2:45 Belfast coach. It will be departing momentarily.
Behind me is the costume department's place, as you can see, and it took over 100 people of skills, tailors and designers to work on the costumes for Game of Thrones, and to make sure that the costume was not just medieval England. They research costumes and traditions from all over the world to incorporate the costumes and designs from all over the world into Game of Thrones. And I really like how they were talking about, at first it started with Dany wearing soft colors, being this soft lady, and towards the end she is as a warrior. And same with another character, Cersei. She started wearing soft fabrics when she was trying to be nice, and then later on it starts being more structured as her character ends up becoming more violent. So looking at the costumes, it's completely incredible, and I'll show you more of the costumes here. The fans will recognize the harpy mask and the symbols. Look at the details. Obara's hand wrist guard, and the dagger, Daenerys's dragon necklace, the symbol of House of Targaryen. The jewelry and the detail is incredible. This is the Khal Drogo's belt, marine headdress, the hand, the mask, Jaime Lannister's hand, and Tyrion Lannister's ring. It's incredible. And fans will recognize the hand pin and the hand of the king chain. It's literally a chain with hands. I was really surprised to see the glove and the details in the glove that Sansa Stark wore during her coronation. I didn't even notice the details on the gloves, but look at the way they have made sure the details are there. The necklace Cersei wore throughout the series, and the lions in there. You will recognize this. The rose, Missandei's neck piece. For small things like this, like especially this glove, I didn't even I didn't pay attention to it. But they have paid so much effort into making that the costume is right. It's incredible. So this is the Dragonstone throne, and it looks like it is directly chiseled from the rock and not piece of the furniture. And this was in like later seasons when Dany returns to her ancestral home, and it's actually is plaster over timber. And it says that it took around 6 weeks to build this throne, and it's the stone that came here. The inspiration was from the limestone cliffs at Zumaya beach in Spain, and the floor of the room is all hexagonal, if you notice, and that is the hexagonal basalt found in the giant causeway in Northern Ireland. So they have taken inspiration from all over the world, and it's really incredible to see how they have built this world. My favorite costume is this one, of course, Dany's. Like, I would love to have a coat like this. It'd be warm in Manchester all the time. Weather was one of the most interesting things that they had used to tell the story of Game of Thrones. And actually, weather is one of the characters, because they always mention the snow and winter's coming all the time. And interestingly, obviously, they cannot shoot all the time when they have snow. So they had to use fake snow made out of paper and lots of water, and they used almost 52,000 bags of fake snow, which is lots of bits of paper and water, and they used 500 kg of coffee powder creamer to create smoke fires and explosions from the fire. So that the explosion team and special effects that they used, and as you all know, they used a lot of fire, things like that. So behind me you can see some explosion stuff that they used. And now I'm entering the prosthetic department, and you can see here all the faces that they had to use and prosthetics for all these characters to fight in the epic battles. And they had to use different kinds of prosthetics, especially for one of the characters. They had to use 2 layers of prosthetic when for the character I'm mentioning is Sir Jorah Mormont, and to show he had the grayscale disease, so they had to show that by using 2 layers of prosthetic. One, the skin layer that's appearing gray and crusted, and another one was on the fake blood. And here are the faces, and the fans will know which one is the Night King in here, Arya. And there's this video showing that it takes around 9 to 10 hours to get your prosthetics done. And here's the process of prosthetics done on the Night King. And the Giant's prosthetic. So obviously, prosthetics are a huge way to tell the story as well. And here is Cersei's prosthetic, and look how real it looks. And here is Jaime Lannister's prosthetic, and it looks very, very real. Now I'm also going to do a prosthetic of my nose and cheeks before I turn into the Night King myself. I think I'm a happy looking Night King. Ooh. Here is my face added. If you can see, that's me over there. Yay! The prosthetic team has used a lot of prosthetics to add the faces and make it real. This one is on when Arya Stark was training, and she is, here is her costume. This is incredible, the amount of detail that they have put in. And they had to construct this set where it was made of more than 600 unique face masks representing both men and women from diverse age and cultures. And for inspiration, the team used faces of producers, crew members, and even some relative as models. That there is Oathkeeper, which was Brienne's sword, and her another sword, Widow's Wail, was from Joffrey, using merging the sword of Ned Stark. This is Theon's bow. This is Gendry's hammer. Look at the detailing. And Dario's weapon. That is Needle, and she's skinny. It is really small and looks really light too. And that's Arya's dagger, that cat's paw dagger, to kill the Night King. And this is O'Brien's sword, O'Brien Martell, and the viper. And if you see here is the snake in there. That's the crossbow that they used to kill one of Dany's dragons, and it's huge. The rope and the crossbow, that's the scale of it. This is the Night King samurai style sword. The White Walker's sword. And this is Jon Snow's long claw. Amazing. And this is Euron Greyjoy's axe. And Heartsbane, the Lightbringer, and the infamous bow. Those who don't know. And there's also the poster of this where Tyrion Lannister's crossbow firing his father. It's in the toilets as well. Check it out. The design on this, like design the details on each person. Weaponry is also as detailed and beautiful as the costumes. The weaponry that the extras used, and even these, the weapons and the weapons that the leading cast used, they were made of blunt weapons and also rubber, so that it won't accidentally hurt anyone. I'm told that this one, Bear one, was actually Kit Harington had carried this when he was filming by one of the members who was assisting in the filming. And look how real they all look, all these weaponry, but they are all made of light materials, so that it doesn't look like light materials and rubber, so that it doesn't actually hurt people. Favorite part of Game of Thrones is actually the music and composing of the music. I think the music composition is fantastic, and here I am looking at how it was composed. And from the background score to music, it was almost like composing music for a 70-hour movie, and in which the music composer Ramin, he was given one major rule: to not use flutes, to make sure that the music avoids any kind of medieval classical music. So he had to tap into the music from all over the world, and he used all kinds of instruments like the glass harmonica for the White Walkers, and it's also written here that he used the concussive trial drums for the Dothraki music, and he also used some music from the Czech Republic, where it was performed by the Prague Philharmonic Orchestra. So this is the room where the music scoring was done, and now I'm also looking at the scenes where Tommen's chamber was shot at, and you can see here the costume of Tommen and Marjorie. and here it shows which scene it was shot in. So it's incredible how the music and the design, it's inside this place, but it looks so real in the camera. And this is all the plaster and sculpture they use where they had to show destruction. And here it shows the bare plaster sheet in different colors, the paintings that was used, and here are most iconic place. Again, everything is iconic for me anyways because I'm just a big fan. So let me show you what I'm looking at. Here's those who remember or the fans know which room this is. So I am looking at the small council chamber here, and where all the government of the King's Landing functioned and all the key decision was made. And the fans will know whose costume I'm talking about. It looks like, you know, it's in a home of someone, but it's literally inside this place. It's a factory, and then they have made these walls and the whole set here. And this is the iconic set that I was walking around with the map of Westeros in the floor, and Cersei and Jaime over here. And I'm gonna read this for you, that the huge painting, this Westeros painting, was created by a graphic designer, Jim Steins, and the original design was done digitally on the computer, and then they printed full size and finished the stew on the floor of the soundstage. And it took 6 weeks to complete. And here he was actually painting it in the cameo in season 7 and this was the thing that he was using it. I am entering the throne room, and you can see the throne is right in front of me. And here is Dany and Jon. And there's the Iron Throne. It's just inside a huge linen factory actually. So one of the staff members here told me that the Iron Throne, this is the real Iron Throne that they used in the Game of Thrones, and The forging of the swords was done by the weapon department, and the lead of the weapon department, he worked in movies such as The Braveheart, Gladiator, Lord of the Rings. So he had access to all the molds that was made in those movies because he was the one making them, and he used the molds to make all these swords and to make the Iron Throne. So fun fact, Gandalf's sword is also in this Iron Throne somewhere, and any other swords that you know from Braveheart and Gladiator is also included in the Iron Throne. Here is the model they used for King's Landing, and this is the back of it and what it looks like from the back, and this is what it looks like from the side and the front. So they had to, as you all know, they had to destroy King's Landing in season 8, and obviously it's hard to destroy a whole city. So they had the set of destruction of King's Landing in Belfast, actually just on a back lot in Belfast, and then they built a large section of Dubrovnik Old City, including building and storefronts, alleys, city gate, wall, everything, and then they destroyed it for the filming. So here is the map of how they did it and the paper model. The filming, even though majority of the filming was done in Northern Islands, so the majority of the filming was done in Northern Ireland. You can see in the map. They also did some filming in Spain, here, in different places, and they did some in Malta and some in Croatia.